What's up, guys? I'm just laying in bed as usual while preparing. We're playing against Romania today, and I will be playing against Constantin Lupulescu, who had a highest rating of I think 2660. So he's been a top 100 player, and for quite a while. He's now 40 years old, I believe. So Romania has a very strong team on board one. They have Diak Bogdan Daniel, who has been in a 2700 club already for quite some time. And then they have Shevchenko, who changed, I believe, from Ukraine, who is also my age. And now on board 3, I'm playing against Lupulescu, and board 4, they have Nisipiano, Liviu Dieter, who was also, I think, European champion back in the day. So they have a very experienced team, very strong players, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have the black pieces again today, so our player Dominic Horvat is resting. Yeah, let's see how it goes. I will keep you updated, and yeah, see you later. And what I forgot to mention was that I've really been struggling with sleep the last couple of days. I guess you can also probably see it from my face. I also have like a small cold, but still, like, there's just nothing you can do. If the team needs you, you have to play. Unless you're like actually dying, then yeah, you just have to continue. And as I've already mentioned in a previous video, you just have to like use all of your energy resources which you have left and just fight on until the very end. And that's actually also what I kind of enjoy about this, that you can challenge yourself even if you don't necessarily feel like playing, or if you don't feel that good. You still have to deliver, you still have to show what you've got. So that's also what sucks sometimes, but also what I actually enjoy, like this kind of challenge. So yeah, just wanted to tell you about this, and yeah, I'll see you later. Just to show you the situation now with the Danube, the view is nice, but water levels are rising, so please pray for us that we can stay here. So I just got back from my game. It was again a marathon game. I finished at like 8:20, so it was like 5 hours, almost 5.5 hours. Super tough game. I was suffering out of the opening already, so I was, I think, lost for many moves as well. But in the end, I somehow managed to save it. Unfortunately, it was not enough for the team to win the match. It ended 2.5 to 1.5 for our opponents, since our board 1 unfortunately blundered in a, I think, very equal position, and also our board 4 was winning, even though the end game was not easy to convert. But there was more in the match, at least a 2-2. But yeah, it's tough. Also, I think I had some luck in the game. But yeah, we'll check it out together in the recap, so see you then. What's up, guys? Welcome to the recap of today's game, which I drew. And it was a really long suffering. I had a worse position out of the opening, as we will see. And then I was like lost for certain points of the game, but somehow survived. As I've already said, the team unfortunately lost. But yeah, it was Romania. They are a strong team. It was a bit unlucky, since the games were actually going pretty well for us, except for mine, I would say. But yeah, there were some unfortunate moments, and in the end, the match ended 2.5 to 1.5. So there's nothing we can do about it now. We will just try to win the rest of the matches. So there are 2 more matches coming up. Round 10 is tomorrow, and round 11 is the day after that. So my opponent played c4. I prepared mostly for c4 or d4, and in this game I went for this classical queen's gambit. The exchange variation, now we have this famous Carlsbad structure, bishop e7. This is pretty normal here, and here I prepared this idea with bishop g4, which is quite an interesting system. Magnus Carlsen also played this quite frequently, even against my opponent, actually, which is funny. They played in the, I think it was Superbet Blitz tournament. Was it maybe this year or last year? I think it was this year, like a few months ago, where there my opponent played bishop e2. And in this Carlsbad structure, it's actually always pretty, not castle, because castle would run into takes, and queen b3. But c6 first, and then it's usually pretty good for black to have exchanged these light squared bishops already. White will go for something like f3, e4, but black should avoid that by going b5 and possibly b4 to kick out the knight from c3. So this position is pretty harmonious for black. I prepared mostly for these moves like queen c2 and queen b3, so I was a bit scared about these very tactical lines there, but my opponent played knight f3, and here I already forgot my preparation, or I mixed it up, let's put it like this. I started with c6, which looks very logical, but it's actually an inaccuracy. I should start with knight bd7. The point is, if he goes now similar to the game, bishop d3, castle, and now queen c2, which he played now, I have this idea to take and go c5, or to go c5 right away. If I didn't go c6 yet, now I can do this in one go, and here would be totally fine. But I went c6, and then I would lose the tempo if I would go c5 later on. So this was already an inaccuracy, and I immediately remembered. After he played queen c2, knight d7, bishop d3 now I remembered that, yeah, this was not the way to go here. I went castle. Then later I thought maybe I can go knight h5 here, with the point that now if he takes, now I'm threatening both knight f4 and bishop takes f3 is an idea. Usually white wants to go knight d2 here, but now I have knight f4 hitting pawn on g2 and bishop on d3, and here I would be totally fine if I exchange these bishops. So therefore white would have to castle here, but I think this, at least compared to the game, is a much better version with already these bishops exchanged. Maybe white is still slightly better, but this would have been, I would have been very happy about this if I would have gotten it. But I went castle fairly quickly. He also castled, and here I thought about my position for like 30 minutes, because I just realized that I'm in a bit of trouble here. I mean, it's only slightly worse, but it felt pretty unpleasant. Because I remembered now that actually I should go for the c5 plan, but now it just doesn't work as well anymore, since I already played c6. And I was thinking about a couple of moves. Obviously in the game I played bishop f3, which then later turned out not to be very good at all. What I also thought about was simply to go knight h5 and now to this structure, but now white can go knight d2, and I thought that his plan with rook e1 and then f3 e4 is quite hard to stop and pretty unpleasant as well. So therefore I did not like it. The computer says it's still somewhat okay after g6. I thought that rook a1 is just not great for me, and now something like f3. But computer says c5, and I'm somewhat solid here. If he takes, I can take back with the knight, and now the pawn e3 is also weak, so I would be somewhat okay here. So knight h5 would be probably a better option. Also rook e8, which was actually my first intention, but I didn't like knight e5 in the game, because now my bishop is somewhat can be in some trouble. If some h3 f4 can come, the bishop is often get trapped. I calculated knight e5 d5 knight d7, and here I wasn't sure. I think bishop g3 was my issue, and I thought simply h3 f4 will come. But I can just go knight c5, and actually not so much is happening here. He also has these double pawns, and I sometimes have the idea to play in the center with d4, so this would have been much better. Rook e8, a healthier move. According to the computer, he should go knight d2, but here this I thought should be fine. Now I go c5, h3, bishop e6, and again white is maybe slightly better because I have the isolated pawn, but I will just play rook c8 next, and at least it's a much better position than what happened in the game. I took on f3, gf, and now it looks like white's king is weak, but there's actually not much happening here after knight h5. Important just to play bishop g3. Now if bishop takes e7, this is the position we had before. Again, I would have been super happy if he takes on e7, but bishop g3 is a strong move. And yeah, now he has certain ideas. I thought his plan should be rook d1 and then e4, just to play in the center. But he also has ideas, sometimes king h1, rook g1, and then to start an initiative on the g file. I played knight f6, which is not so accurate, because now he would have had the chance to go bishop e5, which I also was afraid about. I thought I could go still knight e7, and it's somewhat okay, but the computer says king h1, and it's already like +1, and I'm not surprised. It just looked really bad. Rook g1 is coming, and my king is weak. I don't have anything to play for in this position, and white is just attacking. But he went rook b1, and now I took on g3. I was in general surprised that this b4, b5 plan is pretty standard, but I thought in this position it's not the most critical. I was expecting rook a d1 to stop my idea with c5, and also to prepare e4. So I thought this was more critical. But rook b1 was also not easy to handle. I took, and now I went c5. with the idea that now after rook d1, I actually intended to play queen e7 here, but then I just realized that he can take on d5, go bishop h7, and simply pick up a pawn here, and I'm simply lost here. So I realized this, then I have to go bishop b4 because pawn on d5 otherwise is just weak. I don't have anything to, like, also queen b6 runs into knight a4, for example. I thought also knight takes d5 might work here. Yeah, it's also very good. So bishop b4, I needed to get rid of the pressure on the pawn on d5. But also this position is just really bad. White's pawn structure is actually good. These double pawns are not a problem here. And after rook c8, now queen d4, queen f5, this pawn on d5 is just a long-term target. Rook c1, I played rook d8, so my position is just horrible here. There's nothing else to say. Knight d8, potentially covering the square on c7, bishop d3, and now I went for this endgame, which is probably objectively even lost. Maybe the engine can hold it, but it's just very sad for black. These pawns are also an issue. Now they are doubled as well. Also the pawn on d5 will be a target, and he immediately went after the pawn on b6 with rook c3 and rook b3. g6 I thought was important because king f8, I thought that this would be a problem here, bishop f5, when I did not see this idea, which now I see the engine is showing knight e6, and bishop e7 doesn't work because of knight c5. So that's a nice idea. Even this position, yeah, I'm borderline lost here. But yeah, I missed this idea with knight c5. Maybe I would have gone for this instead then. I went g6 to cover bishop f5, rook b3, rook d6, and now he went e4, and if I take here, now I guess fe4 is also strong, but even bishop b4, he will just pick up the pawn on b7 and should be technically lost for me as well. So I went king f8, e5, engine's first choice, but I thought here I'm like somewhat surviving. White is of course clearly better. He will probably go for something like f4 and then slowly bring the king to d4. But I thought at least I'm somewhat alive here. So he took on d5, and now I simply played for kind of a fortress. I never really want to take on d5, even now the pawn on b6 will always be hanging. And also this diagonal will go up. So I just wanted to set up my pieces like this and play for the dark square control. So he activated his king. This was pretty logical. I was just waiting around here. And the next critical moment came around here after we had the time control. So he was like converting his advantage very nicely here. Bishop f1, I think, still okay, but here I played king d6 fairly quickly, and I totally missed this idea with king c4, king b5. If I would have seen it, I would have gone rook c8, and I'm just stopping this idea for now. Still, after bishop h3, I'm probably in a lot of trouble because f3 is now also in the air. So yeah, also not good, but at least a better try than what I played in the game. King d6, now king c4, and now I realize that I'm in actual like borderline lost here, because king b5 will come and the pawn on b6 will fall, unless what I tried in the game was to bring the rook to a6, which of course is also not nice. Here he played bishop g2 when I was somewhat relieved because I thought that he would go bishop h3, and now after knight f6 just bishop c8, and I thought here I can basically resign because king c7, rook c2, and if king b8 he will just move the bishop, and then rook c8 will come on the next move, and I'm just lost here. So bishop h3 would be, I think, the easiest way to win. He went bishop g2, now knight f6, and now bishop f3. This was actually a bit too slow, I believe. Now he actually gave me some chances to fight back. Rook c2 was the move also their captain Ivan Sokolov mentioned after the game finished. And he has a very nice point here after knight e8 with the point knight c7 check. He has rook c6 check. And if I take here, then king b6, take on e5, king b6, white is just queening the a-pawn and is easily winning. So this rook c6 idea, I think my opponent missed, which is a pretty cool idea. So rook c2 also probably fairly easily winning. But bishop f3 was played, and now I got knight e8, and now I somewhat set up like a nice fortress. The computer still says it should be winning, but not with this move, which he played, king c3. Rook d4 is the idea, to have rook h8 and now rook h4. Because in the game I went rook a8, rook h8, and then I was intending to play g5, and with this he would stop me from going g5 here. So rook d4 kind of his chance here still, but he went king c3, and now rook h8, and here I'm already threatening to go g5, for example, king d4, g5, and I would already be totally okay. Now these doubled f-pawns are an issue, and I will just push my h-pawn with enough counterplay. He took on g6, bishop e4, g5, king d4, h4. He took, and now f3. I played h3, rook h2, and here I made another mistake with rook h6. I think the only move to objectively draw is b5, which I also thought about playing. The point is, both logical moves, rook h5 or rook h4, run into king e3, and now I thought that this rook endgame is lost because he will get a tempo on my rook with king g4. The same, or at least similar, I thought with rook h4, now king e3, and takes, king f2, and again he will get a tempo with king g3, and then take the pawn on h3, which should be lost for me. So this was the idea with rook h6, kind of just like a waiting move, and it worked out perfectly because he did play king e3. But bishop f5 was the move I missed, and here I would again have to suffer quite a lot. Yeah, rook h5, bishop g4, rook d5, king e3. He will pick up the pawn on h3, and it's probably lost. Of course, I can fight here, but practically speaking, I think this is impossible to defend for black. So b5, I still did not fully get it. Why this works here? Because bishop f5 now, the computer says rook f8, and I have some counterplay apparently. King d3, b4, yeah. So b5 would have been objectively the right way to draw the game, at least. I played rook h6, and now bishop f5, as I've mentioned, would be the best try for him. But he went king e3, and now in the same variation, now he doesn't get the tempo. I played rook f6 check, king g3. By the way, this is also actually an idea. Not only the tempo, but that my rook is still not on h4 or on h5, but I can go rook f6 check, and this wouldn't be possible if the rook were on h4 or on h5. Important, my original idea was actually to go king e3, when I thought that after king g3, king e3, I already have some chances maybe to play for something, because these pawn endgames I thought could be lost, but apparently it's still a draw. I need to see this. I guess white isn't time, yeah? Yeah. Okay, white is even not in danger here at all, yeah? But yeah, I thought king d4, but then I saw rook d2 check, king c4, king g3, and I was not entirely sure here if I'm holding this. Computer says b5 is a draw, rook h2, and now to just give check and go king d3. I guess it will be similar to what happened in the game. I played check first, and now king d4, and now king e3, and I'm active enough here to just hold the game. If king g4, I thought I could check here. I wasn't entirely sure about this pawn endgame, but now the computer also sees it, that this should just be a draw here, king c2, and everything is exchanging off the board. So yeah, this would be fine as well. He went king g2, now king e2. I just waited now, rook c7, I waited around. He was trying to push his pawns here, but white has no way to improve his position. Now he tried rook g6, but I can take, and if rook e6, I have rook e3. That was also an important point why I played king e2 here, because if I would be waiting here, then let's say this, then after rook g6, for example, then I can never take on f3 because there's always a check, and I don't have rook e3. This is an important idea. So therefore I went king e2. Now I was just waiting for him. He pushed his pawns. Rook b6, rook g6 I took, and this pawn and this rook endgame is just a draw. A nice idea which I missed, I played rook f7 here, but rook f4 is also a draw, and the idea I missed was here after b6. I only thought about rook b8 and rook b4, b7, and here I thought I'm just not in time, yeah, because check will come and he will queen. The idea which I missed, which is actually pretty instructive, is rook d4, b7, and now rook b7. And now I'll just go king d4, king d5, king c6, and pick up the pawn on b7. So a very nice drawing idea, which I did not think about in the game. But I went rook f7, which is also a draw, rook d6, and now I just brought the king. Here also king e5 I thought should be a draw, but I was a bit scared about these sacrifices, even though it just doesn't work. Where was it? It wasn't here. Yeah, I think I was just seeing some ghosts at this point. So this should, of course, also be a draw. But I went for rook f5, which draws immediately. Since rook b7, rook a5, now I just bring the king and pick up the pawn. And yeah, this is how the game ended. So I think I was pretty lucky in this game. I think I was also putting up a good fight, at least in the end game, but there were these 2 points where he, I think, could have won pretty clearly. So yeah, I'm really happy about getting the draw in the game. Of course, the match didn't go our way, but yeah, there's nothing we can do. Actually, I also wanted to show you one very instructive moment from our last board. This endgame you see here, these knight and rook against rook, so white is a piece up, but black has a pawn, and black is just staying here. And there is one nice winning plan for white, which unfortunately Valentin did not see. In this position he went h4, and I believe that now it's actually already a draw. White's winning plan is to go h3 and g4. Let's say black does nothing. Let's say black does nothing. He just waits around here, rook e7. Okay, let me demonstrate this. Okay, let's put it up. I want to reach this position here. So white should go for something like this. And now the decisive moment. Now to go for this this king endgame. King d5 important. If king e5, king e7, it would be a draw because black has the opposition. But king d5 and now king e7, king e5, and this pawn endgame is lost for black because white will just pick up the pawn. And then we have this pretty well known win here, king f7 and white wins. So just to let you know, if you ever get this position, don't push h4, then it's probably impossible for white to make any progress. But h3 and then to push g4 and then g5 and then at some point sacrifice on f7. So I think very nice instructive endgame. Yeah, it was a pity that we did not win on this board. Also, board 1 was another story, but I won't get into that now. It's been a long day. It's now 20 past 11. So yeah, I'll have to get to some preparation. We're playing against Mexico tomorrow, which is also a pretty solid opponent. They have 3 grandmasters. So let's see how it goes. Good finish is now very important for us, for the team. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's recap. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Other than that, thank you for watching and see you tomorrow.